I was like, oh, what is that? And the marine biologist, she looks at me with this like very puzzled look on her face, and she goes, that is a shark.
Duh.
Right? And I chuckled, and I was like, no, I was like, well, thank you. Yes.
Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast, the podcast that talks about all things couples travel, including destinations, tips, advice, and more. I'm Kat.
I'm Chris.
And this is episode number 252.
Yesterday was a fantastic day.
It was. What did we do?
Well, it ended with me having 3 desserts.
Always a great day. And more desserts on the horizon.
More desserts are on the horizon.
Yeah.
I'm a big dessert person.
Well, so first of all, welcome to 2024, because this is our first episode.
Oh, is it really?
Going live in the new year.
Oh.
So, whoop. It's 2024. I believe that means it would be January 3rd.
Hope you had some great desserts on New Year's Eve.
Hopefully you did.
It is not 2024 for us yet.
Yeah.
It is still 2023. So these are still 2023 desserts.
Correct.
We were talking about this earlier this week, though, about like what the top 5 desserts are.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had different lists. You did not have bread pudding at the top of your list.
Well, obviously.
And I don't think that you had tiramisu second.
Yeah. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No cookie made my top 5.
That is wrong. I mean, it's okay for you to be wrong.
What is your top dessert? Like your number one dessert? If it is on a menu, no matter how full you are going to get it.
Pistachio macarons.
Pistachio macarons.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there like a close second, or is that just like flying above everything else?
Anything pistachio. So pistachio gelato, pistachio cake. Anything pistachio is my favorite thing.
What about pistachio pudding?
Is that like the green pudding with the marshmallows and stuff in it?
Yes.
Or is that like, I know there's like a different name for it. I also really enjoyed that as a child. So I haven't had it in years. If I was like completely full, I don't know if I would get that.
Get pistachio pudding.
But I could be like, oh, like a macaron is only, it's like they're tiny. So I'm like, yeah, I would get some of those, But
okay.
A pistachio gelato, pistachio is probably
pistachio is the flavor, though.
That's just, it's the best flavor, to be honest.
Man.
That's the only dessert flavor. That or something citrusy. Like, I love a lemon meringue pie. I love a key lime pie.
Not chocolate. You got chocolate cake last night.
Yeah, well, they didn't have any, like, citrusy. I guess they had limoncello tiramisu, but I just didn't think that would be, like...
You don't mess with the classics.
I don't know. I was just
People
like,
don't try to rewrite
mousse
The Great
sounds good.
Gatsby.
Okay.
You're not going to put limoncello in tiramisu.
Okay. Lemon meringue pie's great. Carrot cake. Ooh, love a good carrot cake.
Carrot cake is all right.
With, like, a good sour cream...
Do you mean cream cheese?
Cream cheese frosting. Carrot cake with... cream cheese frosting. Another delightful. And then also, remember that blood orange olive oil cake that I made?
Yes, that was also very good.
So good.
Those
are
desserts.
like my favorites. It's more like citrusy stuff or pistachio. I do love like a good turtle cheesecake, like a chocolate caramel peanut buttery delight.
Man.
Sure. But I don't know if I would order it if I'm like completely full.
Okay.
If you slide a tarte au citron on my way, I'm gonna devour it.
A what?
A tarte au citron.
Oh, I thought you said a tonto citron.
Tonto citron.
I was like, I do
or
not know what that is.
Citron or something. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that is basically their lemon meringue tart in France, where they have this perfect little personal sized tart just for you.
So this is another question we were talking about this week. Mm-hmm. Well, I was talking about with my friends. I don't think you and I talked about it.
Okay. So
sorry.
I don't know what you're talking about.
These are the types of debates that we have. Is there a food that you would describe as too rich? Like you have a bite or two and you're like, oh, I just couldn't. It's too rich for me.
I really like dessert. So probably, I would say we talked about this last night. I'm more of like tropical fruity cocktails. I can only have like 1 or 2 at the most.
Is it too rich or is it too sweet?
It's just too sweet.
Too sweet.
Okay, I guess I don't know if I've like had something that I'm like, oh, it's too rich necessarily, but I have had things that are like too sweet that I'm like, oh, I don't really want any more of this.
I don't know if it's something wrong with my like neurological chemistry, my taste buds.
I mean, that's a whole other topic we don't have time to get into right now.
I have never had anything that I'm like, oh, that's too sweet, I'm not going to finish this, or oh, that's too rich.
Yeah, because I mean, I like icing on a cake. Like, I don't get people that are like, oh my gosh, no, I have to scrape the icing off the cake. I'm like, I will just straight up eat frosting.
Yes.
But I don't know. Like, but like, if you give me too many pina coladas or too many like, you know, Mai Tais or daiquiris, I will say I'm not a big strawberry daiquiri person unless if it's like fresh strawberry. Because otherwise, I don't like the fake strawberry.
But that's
flavor.
not because it's too sweet.
Yeah.
It's just you don't like the flavor.
Well, yeah, but I guess.
I feel like I
guess like, yeah, I feel like sometimes those tropical cocktails are too sweet. And then like if I have more than 1 or 2, it's like too much. Like my stomach's going to hurt. Like I'm not going to like it.
Okay.
And it fills me up too much. I'm just like, no, I'd rather have like, I don't know, like a glass of wine or something.
I feel like I'm just like a hungry hippo. And like, if you're mashing that lever, I'm going to eat whatever's in my path. You know what I mean?
That's true. And Christopher's a tall, thin dude, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair. Like, because even last night, I got cacio e pepe for dinner, all right? And they give you a huge portion, because we went to Little Italy in Cleveland. We went to see the Cleveland Orchestra for their holiday show. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And then afterward, because we were with Chris's family and stuff, we went to Little Italy, and I got cacio e pepe for dinner. And they give you a huge portion. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoy like going to a restaurant that gives you like a huge portion, because it's basically like a 2-for-1 meal for me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great, because I'll eat some now and then I'll have some as like for lunch tomorrow. So I get it. And Christopher's staring at my plate the whole time while he completely hoses his entire plate and then looks at mine, and have a nice sized portion left that I was like, oh, this will be great. I'll eat this for lunch tomorrow. And Christopher's like, are you going to eat that? And then proceeds to eat that.
I love cacio e pepe.
And then eat dessert times 2.
Times 3, the fruit plate.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
And we split a salad.
Christopher got a small cannoli.
Oh.
Then he got a tiramisu. And then at the end, randomly, the restaurant just gave us a fruit plate with like...
whipped ricotta.
Yeah, or something. I don't know if it was ricotta or something.
It was whipped ricotta.
Okay. And then you proceeded to eat most of that as well.
Not most of it. I had a fair... I had an appropriate amount. You know what?
I had like 2 things off of it. I had like a pear and a grape.
You know what I think could really up my running game? If we moved to Italy. Because there's
you also
no
ate
way...
like probably more than half of my chocolate mousse cake that I got. Because you were like, oh, whatever you don't eat, I'll just eat it.
I was so hungry.
I know. You did run like 9 miles that morning, to be fair.
I think that I would really up my running if we lived in Italy. Because there's no way
Italy, nowhere else.
Correct. Because there's no way I'm going to stop like eating all of the Italian food all of the time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that would really up my running game. Just a lot of fuel. What was your highlight from this past week?
I feel like the orchestra was really, really cool.
I agree.
Because it was great. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you guys are from Cleveland or not. Because we do definitely have some Cleveland listeners. But the Cleveland Orchestra is actually one of the best in the world.
It's incredible.
I think it's usually pretty consistently in the top 8. It's considered one of the big 5 orchestras in the United States. Yeah, and usually within the top 10 of the entire like orchestras in the entire world. So same list as like the Vienna Orchestra and things like that, which is crazy. It is a very, very delightful one, and we are blessed to have it here in Cleveland. And I know this past summer we went to go see, they play at Blossom in the summertime. Absolutely delightful. And then now we got to see their Christmas special, which they had a mix of, they had the children's choir and the Cleveland choir that also performed with the orchestra. And then there was also a solo singer who killed it.
Yes.
There was even a sing-along portion.
2 sing-alongs.
2 little sing-alongs.
Did you have a favorite portion of the concert?
I really liked the solo singer. I think her name's Capathia Jones.
Okay.
she was the solo singer, and she sang Mary Did You Know and All I Want for Christmas and just rocked the house down.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
My highlight was also the orchestra, and my favorite was also Mary Did You Know. I love that song.
Because she was singing, but the orchestra's playing in the background, and it was beautiful.
Incredible.
It was great. And it's in the beautiful Severance Hall.
Yes.
Which is a lovely orchestra, or it's the theater where the orchestra plays.
Yeah.
And it's lovely.
Anything else you want to talk about before we...
Was that your highlight as well?
Yeah, the orchestra.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, let's do you want to talk about today's topic? We're in our year in review start of our series right now.
So this is the second of 3 episodes that we normally do. Last week's was travel stats and shout outs.
Yep.
This week is going to be top 5 travel memories and our top 5 most embarrassing moments. And then next week is going to be top 5 food and drink. Let's go ahead and get started with the memories. I have mine ranked from number 5 to number 1.
I did that as well. And I will say it was hard to narrow down the top memories. The embarrassing moments, so I'm not going to lie to you. There are times where I'm like, at first, Chris and I were talking, and I was like, man, it's really hard to find all these embarrassing moments. Maybe I just wasn't embarrassing this year. And then you start brainstorming, and then we find embarrassing moments for me because...
Mine,
I am always embarrassing. I don't know.
I'll be honest.
Just my life as a human, I guess.
I think I'm just maturing.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm getting old. It was tough to find some embarrassing moments, for me. But why don't we start with our travel memories? Do you have any honorable mentions first?
Of my top moments
yes.
Or top memories of the year? Yes, I do have a couple because it was a pretty incredible year. We went to St. Lucia. I guess we can go over quickly some of the places we went to. We went to St. Lucia in January. Then I went to Paris and Champagne in April. In May, I went to Puerto Rico, and then we went to South Africa and Zimbabwe, and a short little quick stop in Zambia. Then in, I think, did we go anywhere in July?
I know that we went down to Cincinnati and Kentucky at some point this summer for weddings and family.
Yes, and then
we
September.
We also went to Louisville, Kentucky in April.
And then in September, I went to Normandy with my sister, and then we went to British Columbia at the end of September, early October. So we went to Vancouver as well as Kelowna and explored the Okanagan Valley.
Yeah.
And then we've been home since.
Yes.
We'll be, by the time this goes...
We'll be traveling again next year.
Yeah, but by the time this goes live, we'll have gone to Hocking Hills in Ohio, but that's more of like not necessarily a work trip. It's more of a friends and hiking and just...
R&R.
Rest and relaxation trip.
It'll be nice.
So lots of great opportunities for great memories this year. I will say that an honorable mention is watching the sunset in St. Lucia at Stonefield Villa Resort.
Yeah.
Because our villa, I still can't get over this place. We booked an all-inclusive package at Stonefield Villa Resort. It's in the mountains in Soufriere in St. Lucia, and it overlooks basically all the rooms here are villas with their own private plunge pool. And with the all-inclusive package, I think it was like $800 or less a night for both of us, and included our food and drinks. And we had a private pool at our villa, which was like a good-sized villa. And we had views of the Petit Piton, which is one of the big mountains, and then the sea. And it was absolutely lovely. The sunsets were otherworldly there. I think just the first night of us just enjoying beers in our pool and then hanging out in the hammock and watching the sunset was just such a beautiful moment. So shout out to that. Another one is swimming.
Hold on. These are just your honorable mentions?
These are just my honorable mentions. Okay. The other one is the chance to swim in the only bioluminescent bay in Puerto Rico that you can swim in La Peguera. Getting to watch the sunset and then swimming in that bioluminescent bay and getting to see the bioluminescent plankton lighting up as I'm swimming around, which was a lot of fun. And then my last honorable mention is the World War II, the Normandy D-Day Beaches tour in Normandy. That was such an incredible tour that we went on. I think it was by Orpheus Tours. I talk about it on my France Voyager, my itinerary and stuff like that for Normandy, but such a fantastic tour.
Fantastic.
the guy really put a lot of personal, not his own personal stories, but he really put the humanity into D-Day and had so many incredible stories of, you know, just people that aided in D-Day. There was just so many great stories that he had for the whole thing, and it was just a great. What you look
people
confused.
That what in D-Day?
Aided, like people that were like the medic story that I told. I have a whole episode about the D-Day Beaches tour that I took. It was fantastic.
I thought you said people that ate it in D-Day.
No,
and I was like, oh my gosh.
But he talked about the whole thing about there was people landing on. You had the Rangers climbing up the cliffs. You had the beach landings, and you had the paratroopers coming in from above, and how everything kind of went wrong, but somehow worked out better in the end because it kind of went wrong, because it was a gross day. The paratroopers couldn't land exactly where they wanted to land, but it was like a good thing because if they had landed where they actually wanted to land, it was close to where a bunch of German troops were, so like they actually probably wouldn't have fared as well. And there was just the whole thing. It was an incredible day trip. I did not expect, like, I like learning about World War II history a little bit, but I did not expect it to be such a moving tour. And it really was a moving tour. There were times that I literally teared up by some of the stories. And yeah, it was a great tour.
Good.
So I think those are my honorable mentions. Do you have any honorable mentions for your best travel memories?
No. We said we were going to list top 5, and I stuck to top 5.
You can't even think off the top of your head like a one.
Nope. I'm sticking to top 5.
Well, Christopher did not have a very memorable year,
I play by the rules.
Oh, my goodness. Get out of here.
Why don't you start with your 5th best travel memory?
Okay. My 5th best was in South Africa when we went to Hansby, and my mom and I did the whale watching tour.
Oh, nice.
It was a Marine Big 5 tour. I wasn't expecting it to be so incredible because I was like, okay, I'm not going to do the shark cage diving because I've done that before, and Mom didn't necessarily want to do that. And so we decided to do the Marine Big 5 tour, and we got really close. Some whales got really close to us, but we saw 2 southern right whales, some bride's whales. We got to see penguins swimming in the water. We saw Dyer Island with, I think it's home to like thousands upon thousands of seals. So we saw seals everywhere. They swam up to the boat. They were swimming, and the water was really clear that day, so you could see them swimming in the water near the boat, and that was just incredible. And then we did go see the people who were shark cage diving, so we saw sharks and a seal swimming very happily around the sharks, which I didn't think was a great idea on their part. But yeah, it was just such a really cool day. Like, I love wildlife adventures, and it was just amazing to see these whales so close and get so many good photos of them, and just to watch them swimming in the water and doing really neat things.
Awesome.
Yeah. What is your number 5?
My number 5 is also related to the water. Mm-hmm. And it is our afternoon of snorkeling in St. Lucia.
Oh, nice.
This was in the Soufriere Bay, I believe. And it was a little bit rainy, so like it wasn't the clearest day. We were considering not even going snorkeling, but we decided to. And I'm really happy that we did, because we saw beautiful fish while we were snorkeling. But the thing that that really kind of amped it up for me was the fact that we saw that sea snake, that I had never seen a sea snake before.
Yeah.
And that was something that I thought was really cool. Like, I kept like diving down to get a closer look at it, but also like maintaining a safe distance.
We were like 30 feet up. Like,
right.
It was pretty deep at that point.
It was,
So you couldn't get that close. And I was like, don't get that close to a sea snake, because most of them are venomous.
Yeah,
So.
I wasn't getting terribly close, but I was diving down into the water to see it closer. But yeah, that was just a great afternoon of snorkeling, which I really enjoyed.
Nice. My number 4, a lot of these are probably going to do a little bit with our trip to Africa this year. I feel like it's such an otherworldly place. It's an epic destination. Every time we have gone to visit, whether it's Kenya and Uganda, or, South Africa, Zimbabwe, it's just a lovely place. But number 4 is actually more of a moment that I thought was just very special while traveling. And that was when my parents celebrated one of their anniversaries, as well as so they would have had their 40th. So we missed their 40th wedding anniversary. I'm trying to do the math in my head. Their 60th birthday and their 40th wedding anniversary kind of all happened during the pandemic, when we really weren't able to celebrate and get together and enjoy that time together. So I wanted to put something special together for them while we were on safari. So I had the people at Simbavati, they asked if we were celebrating anything. And I had said that we, it's my parents, their 60th birthday and their anniversary, that we kind of weren't able to celebrate due to the pandemic. And it would be really nice to do something for them. And so they put together this beautiful dinner, this candlelit dinner, complete with some sparkling wine from South Africa and stuff, near the pool, and it was just private under the stars dinner with just my family, or just my parents and Chris and me. And it was just, I think it meant a lot to my parents to do that for them, and it was just a really lovely evening, talking and laughing, and because at that point we'd done so many game drives, and they, just getting to reflect on that and really get to celebrate that moment. In this country that, my parents, it's been on their bucket list, but it's just a place that they never thought that they would get to. And I think that was really special, getting to celebrate that moment and already talk about the memories we made there.
Yeah. Very sweet.
Okay.
It was. I don't know what you want me to say here.
All right. What's your fourth one?
It was. No, I'm saying it was really sweet. You were looking at me and...
Well, you're like scratching your ear over there.
I don't know.
And then I stop and you're like, okay.
I mean, you said everything that I was going to say. Okay. My number 4 was our hike up Gros Piton. I love hikes, especially if it is just like straight uphill. I really enjoyed, I think, other than, actually even more so than the summit, which had a spectacular view, I really enjoyed the view about halfway up, where you got to see a fantastic perspective of Petit Piton. I think if we go back to St. Lucia, I want to do Petit Piton.
Yeah. They said that was like significantly harder.
I'll see. But yeah, Gros Piton was a ton of fun. I really, really enjoyed that.
That was a challenge. Like what was our elevation gain? Do you remember? I mean, because it's literally going up the mountain. You're not like doing like it's not necessarily even switchbacks. It's not like curling up around the mountain. It's literally like stairs up the mountain.
It was awesome.
Like natural rock stairs.
Yeah.
Pulling up roots or trying to grab onto old tree roots to get up there. It was for sure a workout.
Yeah, it was really sweet. So yeah, that was my number 4.
Okay. My number 3 is the sunrise over Victoria Falls.
Ooh.
So we got up early and got to go to the Victoria Falls National Park in Zimbabwe around sunrise, and we got to watch the sunrise over the falls, and that was so beautiful. That is a fantastic time to go to Victoria Falls because it was pretty empty, and we were at some places the only ones, the only people there, so it was just beautiful at some of the lookouts, and we got absolutely soaked in some areas. Because of the fall's power, it just creates its own little ecosystem where it starts raining on you. But yeah, the Victoria Falls sunrise was such a cool moment and memory to explore. And just exploring Victoria Falls in general was amazing. But I would definitely say that the sunrise was really, really beautiful.
My number 3 was also in Africa. And it was an evening game drive where we hung out around a watering hole for quite some time. And we got to see a gigantic pack of wild dogs. Herd of wild dogs? Pack of wild dogs? There were a lot of wild dogs. Oh, yeah,
because we saw them coming and then we went to the watering hole.
Yeah. So they kind of surrounded the vehicle in a non-threatening way. And went to, they were all playing together. Like it looked like almost like a dog park where all of the different wild dogs are playing together. They were lapping up water, and then they crossed over into another area of the park, which was pretty cool. But we went back to that watering hole then, and we encountered a mother rhino with a baby, white rhinos, which was pretty neat. And then we also got to see this larger male rhino who claims the territory that water hole was in, and he actually made it quite far from where he was up
He
to
was
the watering
booking it.
hole. He was
Like,
booking
he was
it because
running.
he saw Mama there. And then it was really neat to see like the interaction between the male rhino and the female rhino, because she had her baby with her, and there was nothing that male rhino could do to get within so many yards of her.
Oh yeah, Mama Rhino was
Mama
Rhino was
she was very defensive.
She was very defensive, and it
Yeah.
was so funny because he kept like kicking and making like territorial moves, but he did not get any closer to the mom.
Yeah.
Like, he was not coming any closer because Mama Rhino was being very protective of her baby.
Yeah.
And it was just really funny because he was acting like, oh, I'm tough, I'm the man. And then, but at the same
Mama
time,
had his number.
yeah, but he's like, but I'm not getting any closer. I'm not messing with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But that was a really, really neat evening game drive, and specifically all of the action around that water hole was pretty special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my number 2 is getting to kayak in the world's brightest bioluminescent bay in Vieques, Puerto Rico at Mosquito Bay. So I was able to take a clear bottom kayak tour. I was staying in Esperanza, and that picks you up there. You head to this bay. You put your kayak in, and at first it almost looks like there's little bubbles popping up, because it's a dark night. You've got the moon and the stars a little bit guiding the way, and it looks like little bubbles. And then the closer you get to the center of this bay, that's when you see these bright, bright bioluminescent creatures. I mean, it's so bright that, anytime you put your hand in the water or anything, any sort of disturbance in the water, paddling, just your kayak going through the water, it was just so bright and sparkling everywhere. Even the fish looked like they were Patronuses, and they were lighting up as they were swimming underneath of us. It was just so cool. We played around, splashed in the water, just had a lot of fun with it. And even just the glass bottom or the clear bottom kayak is really, really cool because it just looks like you're in space when you see it going around you, because it feels like the stars, and it's just a really cool experience. I can't describe it. It's like almost impossible to take photos or video of, because it just, your human eye can see it, but just like because of the exposures of photographs, it's really, really hard to actually capture what it looks like. So it forces you to be in the moment, because you can't go around filming it and doing things anyway. But it's just a really enjoyable experience that you kind of have to see for yourself. And I highly recommend going to Puerto Rico and going to the island of Vieques to experience it for yourself.
I would love to do that.
Yeah. I mean, Puerto Rico has 3 bioluminescent bays, which is crazy.
And it's such a short flight from the U.S.
No, it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, I'm from the mainland.
Right.
Yeah, and even Vieques, it's a quick flight from San Juan to Vieques. And it's a beautiful place. Lots of beautiful beaches on Vieques. Like, you can easily spend a whole week just there on the beaches and doing the bio bay and snorkeling and all sorts of things. But yeah, Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico. That was definitely my second best travel moment of the year. What was yours?
My second best travel moment was, I have written down Victoria Falls as a whole. Mm-hmm. But it was that morning where we saw Victoria Falls both from the Zimbabwe side as well as the Zambian side. And what I enjoyed about it is just that, I mean, we were so close, and it was really neat to see your dad just, I mean, cracking up and smiling. And
oh yeah, because we all got completely drenched.
Soaked.
And he was cackling over it.
It was like coming off of like a theme park ride where, like, how they have like the big log flumes,
like
and
Splash Mountain or something?
Yeah,
yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
was
impossible to not get drenched. Like,
yes.
wear a poncho and you're still going to get wet.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's absolutely drenched.
But it was just a really neat experience because we walked over the gorge into Zambia. Mm-hmm. That was the first time we had ever crossed a border on foot.
Yeah, we got photos at each sign, like you're entering Zambia and then you're entering Zimbabwe.
But it was
had to take our passports.
Yes.
Yes.
But it was just really neat, like that whole morning, just to be able to walk around the national park on both sides of the falls, and just kind of like the whole experience felt very adventurous, which was neat.
It was really fun.
All right, your number 1 travel moment of 2023.
Well, you already mentioned it, and it was the watering hole.
All right.
That was really cool. I mean, we were driving around and we heard on the radio about there being wild dogs in the area. And we had never seen wild dogs at that point. Or no, we had seen them earlier that day, but they were all just kind of lounging around in the middle of the day. So that evening they said they were on the run. They're heading towards the border, towards another reserve. And I spotted them. So I was very lucky. I was like, hey, it's over there. They're over there. They come running. It was so cool to watch them playing around, splashing, drinking water at the watering hole. And then they scurried off. And we kind of like went to look for them. And then once they passed over to the next reserve, we couldn't. And then we came back to the watering hole and saw just this adorable little mother rhino and her baby sharing a cute moment. You know, it was cute because the baby like doesn't really have teeth, so it can't really eat, but he would kind of like mimic his mother. So like the mom's eating grass, so it's like gumming the grass, and it's drinking milk from the mother, and they're both at the watering hole, and like the baby's trying to drink water, but again can't really do it. So it was just really cute. And then of course the whole interaction with the male rhino was really funny to watch as well. So that was just a really cool moment. That whole thing was really cool to see.
Yeah.
So what's your number one?
My number one was in Zimbabwe. We were on a game drive, and this was actually our last night in Zimbabwe, also in Africa. And it was when we saw black rhinos, which is something that we had never seen before.
Yes. And that reserve is trying to increase the population of black rhinos. It's like part of what they're trying to do. Yeah.
Yes. But it was really cool because Kat and I had this running joke the entire trip where I was slowly becoming more and more familiar and respected within the bush, so that I was kind of developing a reputation as an amateur tracker.
He's wearing his Simbavati hat as well. Was that intentional?
No, it was not. I just had
sure?
this on. Yeah. Well, it was. I was walking to the store earlier and it was raining, so I just threw on a hat.
Oh.
But what heightened this even more is that we knew where the black rhinos were, but then they kind of retreated into the bush a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting up in the front with the guide.
Well,
as
after
you'll
telling
recall,
the guide that you were an amateur tracker.
You'll recall that I was in the front seat. I was invited to sit into the front seat. And we're looking...
It was a full safari vehicle, so...
We're looking...
There was nowhere else for him to sit.
We are looking for where these rhinos may have retreated into the bush. And I spotted movement. And I said, if we go around the other way, they're going to be coming out that way. Sure enough, we do that. And as they're walking out right in front of the vehicle, may I add, as I'm in my tracker hat, our guide turns to me and gives me a fist bump, and he was like, great spot. And I was like, this is my life now. This is it.
I don't know if this should be embarrassing for you or...
No, this is a top... This is the top...
core memory for you.
This is a core memory now.
Okay.
But it was really cool to see black rhinos as well. And to also have that recognition.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you would view that story not as a top travel memory for me, but maybe a nice transition into our embarrassing moments for the year.
Yeah, I mean, we got to do it every year. We have some wonderful, amazing travel memories. We're very lucky. But travel doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go. And sometimes travel means making a complete embarrassment of yourself. And
do you have any honorable mentions for this one?
I do.
Oh my gosh, really?
I do. Well, they're not too bad. I will say that one of them is being a complete hot mess climbing up Gros Piton. It was rough, not going to lie. We actually beat a lot of people up that mountain, though. I'm actually pretty proud of us climbing that.
Yeah.
But it was not without a complete gallons worth of sweat coming off of my body at any given time. And even the photos of us, I look drenched with sweat because it's, the Caribbean and it's hot and humid and we're hiking up a literal mountain. And so good times. So that's one of them. I would say that there was a time where I was hanging out in Old San Juan, and I was at, I think it was Castillo San Cristobal, which is one of the fortresses in San Juan, or the forts. And I saw an iguana and I got very excited, and I was like a little too excited because there was other people around that were either from like Puerto Rico or Florida or somewhere else. And they're like, yeah, it's just like, that's normal. And I was like, Okay, well, I live in Ohio. They wouldn't last here in a minute. But they were huge, and I was very excited about that. My last one that I'm going to mention, and it's not necessarily embarrassing as it was terrifying, but because I did not take the correct turn out of the Gare de Lyon train station to get on the highway to go to Normandy, I had to go through Paris, which means having to drive around the Arc de Triomphe, which is a giant roundabout, no lanes, and it almost feels like no rules, but it is one of the old rules in France of première à droite, which means that the person turning right onto the roundabout actually has the right of way. Which not all the roundabouts have them these days.
That is chaos.
And it was chaos, if you can imagine. A lot of stopping to let a lot of people on and then continuing to go. And there was just a big cluster in the middle of it. And it was terrifying. A lot of beeping, a lot of, maybe at me, probably. It was terrifying. It was a terrifying experience. But I made it. And we continued on. And we made it to Normandy afterward.
And you're here to tell about it.
I'm here to tell the story of the time I had to drive around Arc de Triomphe, and it was a nightmare, if you can imagine. You've seen it, I'm sure. If you've been there,
you've seen it.
You've seen it, I'm sure. Like if you've been to Paris and you've tried to check out the Arc de Triomphe, you've seen how chaotic that square looks. I mean, there's a reason why you can't just cross the street there. Like you have to go underneath a tunnel to go to Arc de Triomphe. So, yeah.
I do not have any honorable mentions. Again, I stuck to the 5.
Thinking you're an amateur tracker.
That was a top travel memory. Okay. The top travel memory.
I mean, you just...
but I think
you even purchased the exact hat that our tracker had on Safari.
That was by coincidence. Uh-huh. You went first on memories, right?
Yeah. Do you want to start with your embarrassing moments?
I'll start with embarrassing moments. Yeah. I'll start with number 5, which was at the Louisville Slugger Museum. I was very much looking forward to this. I love baseball.
I was cute. I think you were having a great time.
I loved collecting baseball cards. Catherine was talking to me like I was a toddler the entire time.
Because you were so excited about it. And there were also children. I think it was only children that had as equal amount of excitement as you.
So I was one of the exhibits. You can hold bats of players from history. You can't swing them or anything like that, but you can hold them
and get a photo with it.
I was holding Ken Griffey Jr.'s bat. Love Ken Griffey Jr. I collected, thousands of baseball cards growing up.
Chris still has a collection.
I have
of baseball
them all.
Cards.
And I would always Griffey was my weak spot. Like if someone else had a Griffey, I would generally overpay, quote unquote, over trade cards to get another Griffey that I had not had. So I'm holding Ken Griffey Jr.'s bat, and Catherine is acting like I'm like a first grader at picture day.
I was really excited for you.
No, I know.
I really was really excited for you because I knew how much you were excited to go to the Slugger Museum. Like most people were going to Bourbon, the Bourbon Trail after the race and all this stuff. Christopher's like, we got to go to the Slugger Museum.
I had never been.
And honestly, I had never been either. And I
really
knew
cool.
how much Chris played baseball in school, and I knew that he was a geek about baseball cards as a kid. And I know that you really love baseball. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And so I was like, oh, get a picture. And I kept taking photos of him doing everything there. And
that was the thing. You kept going smile, smile. And I'm I am smiling.
I know, but
there's a line of children behind me.
That's true. You were the only adult holding the baseball bat.
But it was pretty sweet.
Getting excited. And I think, you even picked up one of these random bat pieces because they give you a free mini bat at the end, which I think is really sweet.
It's hanging on our wall,
and it is hanging on our wall in this room. That was Chris's design choice, not mine. Christopher also got a little nub. It's a remaining part of a.
It's when the bats are carved. There is a piece on the top and the bottom that gets carved off.
Yeah, and it's just junk at this point, but
it is not junk.
But they were like, if you guys want some, take it. And so Christopher has a bit of a nub of a baseball bat.
There we go.
Yes, but it was really fun.
It was.
You were very cute.
What was your number 5?
My number 5 was the truly humbling experience of learning to surf in Puerto Rico. We were in Rincon, which is a very well-known surfing kind of town, city in Puerto Rico, and this was for a press trip thing that I was doing with Discover Puerto Rico, and it was so much fun. I'm excited that I got to do it. And there is a pro surfer who literally was like professional, like had a career out of this. I mean, since retired from that, is teaching you how to surf. And he did a great job. Like, he really was good. Like, each of us stood at the end of it and was able to surf a wave for the most part, which is great. And he was very patient and like very good at teaching, but it's incredibly humbling constantly getting thrown off of a board on your bottom. And he was even super nice, would kind of give us a bit of a head start and like sort of push the board as the wave is coming, so we'd get like a bit of a head start. And I think if he didn't do that, we'd probably be failing miserably at it. But yeah, I mean, nothing like trying to find your balance and constantly falling over and crashing into things and crashing into the water, and it's a workout.
Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, but like it was a huge workout, because then like once you get back to the shore, you're like, oh crap, now I gotta like swim all the way back out there, like paddle, and then you gotta like get up and try to balance on a surfboard. Because at first you do like the whole thing in the sand where you learn how to do it on the board, like to balance, and it's just a whole other ball game when it's not stable ground underneath of you. So yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. Falling off a surfboard a lot.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My number 4 was, there was a portion on the downhill part of our hike on Gros Piton where there was a nice little like runnable part. And I didn't really want to hike it because I just wanted to kind of like chop my feet pretty quickly, and I could get down from like point A to point B, and it wasn't terribly far or anything like that, but I didn't want to take the time to like take a step and like hike.
You decided he was going to barrel roll down it.
So I decided I was just going to run a little bit down there. And as soon as I did, our guide, she was just like, sir, where are you going?
Yeah, because you have to stick with your guide.
And I wasn't going that far. I mean, I was probably going like maybe 30 meters ahead, but like down. And I was like, and then like when she started shouting, I kind of like stopped and slid a little bit. But it was more so just like the embarrassment of her thinking that I was just taking off down the mountain because I did not communicate my intentions
just leaving
beforehand.
Me behind
yeah, exactly.
with our person. Yeah.
So that's number 4.
My number 4 is in Champagne, which is a lovely destination. We were in Reims and Epernay, and we had a full day in Epernay because we got in the day before, of getting to tour different wine houses, and we went to Champagne Esterlen for a tasting. Then we went to Moet et Chandon for their tasting as well as tour. And during the tour, we're going to the, I think they have the largest like cave system for the wine and stuff in the, I don't know. They basically have the biggest like wine storage. They're also the biggest producer of champagne in the world. So that makes sense. So we're going down the caves, we're exploring, we're going in the tunnels, all that stuff. And then we're climbing back up the stairs to get to the top. And I completely fall going up the stairs and just completely bite it. I like scratched up the side of my camera, not the lens or anything, and it still worked fine. That was what I was worried about at first when I fell. But yeah, and it was like, because of the environment down there, it's like kind of mossy or like, I don't know, there's like moss and different things sort of semi-growing on the ceiling because it's kind of damp and, just because of the environment. So like I got some of that stuff on my camera and all over my hands because I use my hands to catch myself. But it's embarrassing because, you're in Champagne. People just automatically assume that you're like drunk. And that's why you're tripping up the stairs. And it wasn't. I mean, we had a tasting beforehand, but like it had been like a couple hours since then. And we were at this Champagne, we were doing the tour at Moet. And yeah, it was just really embarrassing to fall because I was ahead of everyone else and they all just saw me completely bite it on the stairs because it's like 100 and something steps back up to the main part from the cellar. Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. And everyone's like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? Oh, well, champagne, am I right? And like, you're just like so embarrassed the whole time.
If it makes you feel any better, I would not have assumed that you were drunk. I would have just said, look.
Well, you know me. You
she
just
runs,
know that.
It is a miracle if she makes it from one side of the living room to the other without hip checking something.
That's true. I run into a lot of things, like mostly hip checking, like tables,
Sometimes
door
running
frames.
right into the closet door if there's not sufficient light.
That's at night when I've turned off the bathroom light and I'm getting into bed and like I can't see anything. So yeah, I'll run into the bed occasionally or run into the closet on the way to my part of the bed. Whatever. What's your next one, Christopher?
My number 3, and this was like kind of cheating because honestly, unless you mentioned something that I did not mention, I didn't have 5 embarrassing moments this year. I'm just going to say that. This one was not quite while we were traveling, but technically it did happen when I traveled down to the national park. And this was early on last year. It was snowy, it was icy, and it was on a part of the trail that I had never been on before. The trees were covered in snow because it was windy, so I couldn't really follow the blazes that well, marking the trail, and I took a wrong turn. And I did not have my yak tracks on, so I was already like a little unstable on my feet because of all of the ice. And I took a wrong turn, and I recognized that afterwards because I slid down a gigantic hill that was just a sheet of ice. And the way that I had to get up this hill was on all fours.
Did anyone see you?
No. Thankfully.
Oh, well then it's embarrassing. I'm glad you're okay, first of all.
It's embarrassing for me.
I would have laughed watching, after knowing that you were fine, I would have laughed hysterically at you trying to climb on all fours up a hill.
All fours, and I had to find like 2 kind of thicker sticks at the bottom to use as little picks to get into the ice for like traction. It was quite the adventure to get back up. My Garmin map from that day just shows like, it looks like I was just like chucking it back and forth all around this one area because I just kind of bit it. But that was number 3.
I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if you told me about that until just now.
I think I did, but it happened until like, it happened in January of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, number 3 for me was in Puerto Rico. I'm not like terribly embarrassed by this, but like at the opening party of the Women in Travel Summit, your girl had some pina coladas. She had some good, and just the music was great. There was like, it was probably the best opening party I've ever been to of the Women in Travel Summit. It was so much fun. We're just dancing. It is so hot because it's also outside. So it's really freaking hot, which I'm sweating constantly. So I'm somehow there's a conga line. I end up in the conga line. I'm dancing. I'm having a good time. One of my friends hands me like a fan, like one of those little portable mini fans. So here I am just like dancing and also like dancing with this fan in my face. And I also would like put it in other people's face. I'm like, here, have some fan. And they would like it because it's like really hot. And yeah, just the conga line with
when you start sweating, it is like a faucet.
I know. It's so embarrassing. Yeah.
That's not that bad though.
No, but I was like pretty tipsy doing that, so I'm like dancing and I just like don't care.
You're just portable fan blading people into their face.
Well,
like
I would ask people
cheeks.
First if they wanted this fan, and they were like, yeah, and like
there you go.
It was fun.
Good. My number 2 was on our shark cage diving experience in South Africa. You mentioned that you and your mom were on the Marine Big 5 tour. Your father and I were on the shark cage diving. Mm-hmm. And this was after our first dive. Both of us got to go in the cage twice. This was after our first dive, and I was out of the water, and I had my like my wetsuit like open, like I was I don't know, I was just
letting it all hang out,
but no, I was standing like right above the cage with one of the marine biologists, and there was a shark that was coming up, but it looked different to me than the sharks that I had just seen in the water. Mm-hmm. So I said, oh, what, because they were very much like, hey, ask us questions. Like we love teaching people more about this. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, what is that? And the marine biologist, she looks at me with this like very puzzled look on her face. And she goes, that is a shark.
Duh.
Right? And I chuckled, And I was like, no, I was like, well, thank you. Yes. I was wondering what I was wondering what kind of shark
That's
it
a shark
was.
there, bud.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
job.
I was wondering what kind of shark it was. So then like she realized what I meant and like both of us had a good laugh over it.
Oh
But
goodness.
it was more so just like the look on her face when I first asked it. She was like, it was like one of those like where you can't tell if someone is messing with you or not. And she was like, is he just an idiot? Like he just saw these in the water.
What do you
that's
think this
kind of
was?
Right.
Just
That's
a sea turtle tour?
Exactly. Like that is the exact reason that you booked this, sir. But yeah, just that is a shark. And
Was
I'm like,
it the
"Thank
same
you."
sharks as before?
No, it was a different type of shark, which was
Was it a great white?
It wasn't a great white at that point yet.
Okay.
They came a little later.
Okay.
But yeah, I
was a
meant to
shark.
say what type of shark is that,
But
and
your
not what
your
is
mind was
that.
just like, what is that?
So that was pretty funny. What was your number two?
Fantastic. My number two, well, happened on our more recent trip. And we were at the market in Vancouver, and like the main market, that island. What was it called again?
Granville Island.
Granville Island Market. Okay. And there are signs everywhere that say seagulls steal snacks by the seashore. All right. And, I mean,
Catherine's a snack.
Anyway, so we have some snacks outside because we are just hanging out and it had finally stopped raining. We ate lunch in there. We got like a little dessert. We were walking around outside, just hanging out. And out of nowhere, I hear a flapping, but not like it's like far away, like it's right behind me. And I turn around and a seagull is about to literally attack me.
Take the food right out of your hands.
Yeah, it didn't. But he tried to steal my dessert, and it was really embarrassing because there was a lot of people all around as they were watching me basically a seagull try to attack me to steal my snacks. And so that sign is very true. We didn't see the seagull beforehand, so that's why I thought it was safe to eat my snack. And then it came out of nowhere, like literally behind surprise attack me. I just see flapping. And I see like a wing out of the corner of my eye, and I turn around and I'm like, like I'm getting attacked by a seagull.
Yes.
For my snack. So it was pretty funny. Those are pesky little boogers.
We're down to our number
getting
ones.
attacked by a seagull in Vancouver.
Yeah.
It's up there for embarrassing things to happen.
Did your number one happen in South Africa?
Yes.
Okay. My number one also happened in South Africa. I was going back and forth between the kind of like the that's a shark and this one, but I ultimately settled on this one. So this was, I think you and your mom were at the spa on safari. Your dad had gone back to the tent, and I had gone back to the tent momentarily, but I was like, you know what? Like the game has been pretty active. So I'm just going to go back up to the game viewing deck, and I am going to see what I can see. Like I brought my Kindle up there, but just kind of chilling. There was a Nyala walking through very, very close, and I think that they walked through again where you got to see them as well.
Yeah, they kind of walk in front of the open game viewing deck near the river. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that, and I was like, oh, like this is going to be pretty cool. I'm going to go down there pretty close, and I am going to get a picture.
In the fire pit area.
Yeah.
So still like a fence away from the actual
yeah.
Nyala. You're not
fence.
just being like, I'm going to get as close as I can to this wild animal and
no.
see what happens.
And there was another family there as well from London, and they had two younger boys. Mm-hmm. And the two boys went down there as well. And
oh my gosh, they were attached to you because they saw how much you were a geek over like the animals, and they were like, "This is so cool!" Like,
yeah,
they were at the age where they think it's cool. Not like there was another family with teenagers that were like pretty.
They were like, "You should look outdoors," and one of either the sons or daughters like looked, and there you go. I looked, and I was like, "Wow,
yeah,
I would chuck that phone into the river."
Yeah.
Like I would be no nonsense if that were my kid.
Yeah. But they were younger than that, so they were still enjoying their experience.
Yes. So let me get back to the picture that I painted. I am down viewing this Nyala that is walking towards us, and there's these two younger boys next to me. And the general manager was showing people around that had just arrived, okay? And they also had children. If you remember the other family that, like, I think was there just our last night. And he's talking about how there's fantastic amenities for both adults, and he was like, definitely the children get a big view, or the children get a big kick out of the game viewing deck. And he was like, both the kids, and then he sees me and he goes, and even some of our bigger kids really enjoy the wildlife spotting that can happen right here.
That's true. I think you got as into it as the small children did.
Oh yeah, easily.
That just reminded me, the whole game viewing thing. Did you remember the pizza chefs?
Yes, I did.
Please reiterate that story. And it was not an embarrassing moment, but oh my gosh, it was hysterical.
It was very,
because of a South African accent,
yes,
and the way that they say pizza chefs.
It was more so a, like, our ears have been, I will say, tainted over the years, but the gentleman, the same guy who said even some of our bigger kids, it was the two same boys. They were cooking pizza as part of, like, the afternoon kids activity.
Yeah.
And this gentleman who was incredibly kind. We got to talk to him for a while. He walked up to them and he goes, "Hello, pizza chefs." And it sounded to us like pieces of something that we can't say on the podcast.
Yes.
And
so we, like, it was all of us. We were all at lunch, and we, like, did a double take of, like, why did he say that to these children? And then we were like, oh my gosh, pizza chefs.
Yeah.
And we were dying. It was so funny. It was
very
so
funny. It was very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you can imagine two children and then me, and he's like, oh yeah, the kids and even some of our bigger kids. And I'm like, thanks, man. But yeah, that was, I would say that was my most embarrassing moment, but far from some of the moments that I have had in past years. So I really do think that I am maturing. When I have to drive all around the UK the next year.
And then also be at the Olympics and probably be embarrassing.
No, I mean, I think embarrassed. It'll be embarrassing if I don't medal. Why don't you talk about your most embarrassing moment?
My most embarrassing moment, I wasn't even conscious for. This happened to me.
This was the funniest thing.
And it is a moment we like to call tooth lip. And I fall
hold on.
asleep.
Let me paint the picture.
Okay.
Catherine can fall asleep anywhere. If you guys have seen Rat Race, and
I don't fall asleep like that. I can fall asleep in moving vehicles, like pass out
very easily.
Especially with all those early mornings we have on. I feel like anytime we go to, like, South Africa or something, there's so many early mornings. So I am not a morning person, so I fall asleep.
I have, like, an entire album on my phone of selfies where I'm smiling and Kat's just, like, passed out, whether it be a plane, a train, an automobile, what have you. So this was the morning that we went to the Cape of Good Hope National Park. Mm-hmm.
I'm asleep.
You are asleep, and somehow...
Well, I'm awoken to just cackling
in the van. Like,
and
our
I'm like,
driver,
What's
Kat's
going
parents,
up?
all four of us were cracking.
And I'm like, what's going on? And that's when Christopher shows me a photo, and I don't know how this happened. My lips must have been pretty chapped while I was sleeping, but I had my mouth open, and a piece of my bottom lip was stuck to one of my top front teeth. And it just looks weird, and I don't know how it got stuck that way. I don't really know, but
your mouth must have been like, well, you were breathing through your mouth. It must have just been so dry.
Yeah.
That, like, for whatever reason, the picture is hilarious.
Yeah, of course, Chris took a photo of it, and it's just so unflattering and so embarrassing because even our driver was, like, laughing at me about it, and, like, you guys were all cackling and kept calling me tooth lip. Chris was making up songs. And it's just,
you know, what was really funny is we were out to dinner. I believe it was that evening at a nice restaurant. And, I texted your dad the picture, or I can't remember if I texted it to him or if I just, like, brought it up on my phone and, like, showed it to him, and he just busts out laughing at the table.
I know.
And you and your mom were like, what is so funny? And yeah.
So funny. Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, really not a bad year. Not a bad year from an embarrassing
Honestly, this is not as bad as like in 2019. Remember when I spilled like scalding hot tea on me and just yelled expletives as our tour guide was walking in, and it was also in the front of a hotel lobby, so I'm probably terrifying the receptionist. And that was a whole mess.
I didn't fall down any staircases. You didn't fall down in the jungle.
I did fall up a staircase. I didn't fall down in like gorilla poop in the middle of a jungle, or also jump up in the air with our guide being like, "Yes, Catherine," and then immediately stumble and fall flat on my face. And he's like, "Oh no, Catherine."
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're growing. I think we're maturing, and
maybe
I'm going to say that in 2024, maybe we're going to have to rethink the title of this episode because there's just no embarrassing moments left to be had.
I highly doubt it.
All right,
because we have a lot coming up next year. We're going to be driving on the opposite side of the road. Both of us in England and Ireland and Scotland. We will be going to the Olympics, where Christopher can get quite competitive. I don't know. I foresee some embarrassing moments in the year to come. So don't count us out yet. And then at the end of the year, I mean, we'll all these trips.
We'll try to do better next year.
We'll always try to do better. But, I mean, I've learned some lessons, like don't put scalding hot tea balancing without a lid on my leg while my legs are crossed while I'm on my phone. And maybe don't leap, on a slanted hillside.
No more celebratory jumping.
No more celebratory
for this
jumping.
Relationship.
Yeah. No more sleeping.
No more sleeping.
I'm never safe now.
Yeah. But yeah, there it is.
All right, guys, that's our top travel memories and our embarrassing moments of the year. But let us know your thoughts. What are some of your top travel memories and embarrassing moments from this year? We'd love to know. You can always reach out to us on all social media at Worldwide Honeymoon. So that's Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, except for Twitter, which is WW Honeymoon, or you can email kat@worldwidehoneymoon.com. But thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate and review our podcast. It takes less than a few minutes and really helps other people find us. Also, if you're enjoying this awesome free information on both the blog and podcast, when you're booking your next trip, head over to worldwidehoneymoon.com/resources and use the links provided. We earn a small commission at no cost to you when you book through these links, and these are all brands and companies we know, love, and use, like Skyscanner for finding the best flight prices, World Nomads for the best travel insurance, TripAdvisor for hotel bookings and reviews, and even Amazon for all of your travel purchases.
Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Wherever you are, wherever you go, remember to make every day a worldwide honeymoon.